Hope everybody's doing well as we get ready for this Christmas season. I'm back in Texas, which is great. I always enjoy putting my feet down on good free Texas ground after being in Washington, D.C., but we're getting ready for Christmas, too.
I imagine so. And you've had a very busy schedule all the way up to yesterday, and that is when Congress took action on health care yesterday. And tell us what happened there.
Well, we certainly did, and you know what Democrats would have you believe is that Republicans have increased the cost of health care. Well, that's absolutely false. For 15 years, not a single Republican has voted on Obamacare. Never has a Republican voted on any provision of Obamacare. We didn't vote on it in the beginning, and we certainly haven't voted on it in the subsequent years during the Biden administration when they made everything more expensive. So let's just set the record straight from there. Now, a fair criticism is, well, what's the GOP answer? Okay, well, I'll tell you what the beginning of that answer is. It's what we did yesterday, which is transparency and competition. It's a provision to bring down not just a small percentage of premiums, but to bring down premiums for everybody by almost 15%. And that was a provision we passed yesterday. It's a provision to establish Trump RX, which will allow every American to see the price of the drugs that they're buying. It's a provision to allow better competition and transparency for what they call pharmaceutical benefits managers, PBMs, these big companies that make the drugs and sell the insurance and sell the drugs. And so, you know, what we want to see is innovation and competition and transparency. And what Democrats want to see is dependency. They want to get everybody on a single system with a single payer and make it more expensive, and that's just not what we stand for. So we have more work to do, but very proud of the bill that we passed yesterday. And, you know, the group that I lead, the Republican Study Committee, 190 members, we championed this bill, but also other aspects that when we get back in January, that we're going to have to keep going and make sure that we do more.
Well, I have a question for you. You know, you do have some colleagues in the GOP that had stepped across the aisle and said, look, our constituents want this the subsidies to be extended. And what do you say to your constituents who may be asking that question?
Well, first off, you know, the subsidies that they're talking about affect less than 6% of our population. The vast majority of the Obamacare subsidies still remain in place. So these were the COVID-era subsidies that Democrats offered, and even when they had control of the House, when President Biden was in power, when Schumer was in control of the Senate, they couldn't even make these permanent. They're very, very costly. They were never meant to be permanent. And I'll give it to the Democrats for, you know, getting on TV and saying, well, it's Republicans' fault. Well, no, it's not. We want to bring down subsidies. We want to bring down the cost. We want to bring down the cost for all Americans. And that's structural reform. And I think we finally have an understanding with those legislative tools. I've been working on this for several years now, and I'm on the right committee for it. And we're going to make some headway in this direction. And that headway is holding the insurance companies accountable. And instead of sending money to the insurance companies, as Obamacare already does, we want to send it directly to the American patient. We want to send it right to you, where you can use a health savings account to have some accountability for your own health care, and you can take advantage of these tax provisions that will allow you to do exactly that.
And when will some of these measures take effect?
Well, we need the Senate to pass this.
Okay.
We passed it yesterday, so we really need the Senate to pass it and get it to President Trump. But, you know, in the next couple of months, this is exactly what we're going to do. So, yeah, the 4 or 5 Republicans that decided to use what we call a discharge petition, that's, you know, I disagree with them. I mean, we've got good answers. We've got conservative answers. You know, the cost of this is $300 billion. $300 billion. And, you know, you could look at that and say, well, does that affect every American? And if it does, maybe that's worth it. But it doesn't. You know, we're talking about a very small group, a very small section of our population, and they're really abandoning conservative principles, Republican principles, and those principles are competition and transparency, and not subsidizing, not taking money from Brownwood and subsidizing people in New York. I have a problem with that, and that's what I stand up for.
Well, now, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, where they were screaming that the funds had been cut and children were going to die and all this other kind of stuff, the reductions came through, or I thought came through. First, they were in the big bill. It wasn't like a shock that was in there. That got passed. And then the second thing, they were cleaned up with the roles of who all was getting medical and assistance, with the number of illegals that were getting it, they were taken off, and then the number of people that were just not supposed to be getting them that weren't even registered through the Doge process, whatever that was. That just cleaned up the money that was going out, but there wasn't a real true cut except for those figures there. Is that right, or is there something like that in there also?
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right, and it's actually worse. Let me paint this picture for you. The Doge, and they wanted to see the extent of the fraud, and so in January of this year, when the president took office, what they did was they went out and they made up fictitious Social Security numbers, fictitious people, didn't exist. And they submitted those people for the Obamacare exchange. And they put them in there and they registered them. Guess what? They started paying the insurance companies for these people. And it continued on the entire year. And we know that these numbers are in the billions of dollars of fake people that have been paid. There are multiple instances. It's too long to tell you every single instance. But we know that it is in the billions and billions of dollars of fraud that has existed. This program, Obamacare, was written by insurance companies for insurance companies. And Democrats happily went along with it. And Republicans are saying enough is enough. We want to end the fraud. We want to end the waste. We want to end the abuse. We want every American to be able to get online and see what one plan versus another costs, and the same for drugs. What does it cost? And to be able to have options to take control of your own health care plans, which has not existed.
Well, I can remember when that Obamacare was coming down the line, and we were in here talking about it, and I couldn't figure out how it was like, well, if the government's going to take over insurance, the insurance company's going to get mad. And after a couple of weeks of discussion, it was like a red flag that the insurance companies weren't getting mad. And so you kind of went, well, there's something, we're missing a boat here just a little bit.
Well, that's right. And, look, our approach is this. If you like your Obamacare, keep it. Keep it. But we're going to offer you better plans. We're going to offer you more transparent plans. We're going to get to some structural reforms that end the fraud and the waste and the abuse. But if you like your Obamacare, then keep it. That's fine. But I think what people are going to find is that there's real competition to be had. The physicians and the nurses and the techs and the people that are working hard right now and throughout rural West Texas and some of our community health centers, they're doing a good job, and they need to. The patients need to have that trust with them that what they're paying for is actually, what it costs, and it's not going to some middleman that's in New York City, which right now it is, and we want to end that.
Well, the one more thing, this is kind of frustrating for me. When Trump got in there the first time and said, y'all bring me your bill and I'll sign it, we'd been hearing for years that the Senate and the House, the Republicans had a plan. And then once you had a man that said he'd sign it, we kind of found out that we didn't. So you're saying y'all have got a real plan. Is that fair?
We do have a plan.
Okay.
And I'm leading on it. And it's a fair criticism. And I've done over 100 town halls since I've been elected, and I hear this all the time. And I mean, a lot of this started even before I was in office. Yeah. But it's a fair criticism. Republicans we're really good at facts. We're really good at coming up with ideas. What we're not so good at is communicating some of those ideas. The Democrats, I got to hand it to them. They use these emotional hooks, and they You remember the ad when John McCain voted no, and they showed, a grandmother being pushed off the cliff. I mean, that's what they try to invoke in you. They don't care about the facts. They don't care about what the actual truth is. We do. But we've got to get better at communicating, and we're working on that right now. But how can a Democrat stand up and say, I want your hard-earned money in any Democrat district to go to an insurance company? That doesn't make sense. And we're going to put them on the spot. We've got more to come, and I want to see prescription drug prices come down. I have a bill right now that I believe is going to be signed into law very, very soon that allows better competition for these big drug companies by allowing, when the patent expires, to allow other companies to use that chemistry. It's the exact same chemistry, and to use that to create generic drugs that would offer every patient an option. Instead of $100, you can pay $10. And let's see that competition go into our marketplace that lowers prices every single day.
Congressman Pfluger, I know your time is limited with us, so I thought that I would allow you to congratulate the student from your district that was the winner of the app challenge this go around. What happened?
Well, this is a great story. We had a young man in Odessa, Texas, that created an app to help with kidney transplants. And I mean, what an amazing idea! And there was a lot of competition. Another kid from San Angelo that developed an app. But these are real world things, and the kids that are. And I meet with kids all the time. We talk all the time about a variety of things, whether it's FFA or 4-H or, watching the football. By the way, the Wall Hawks are state champions as of last night. They won their very first state championship in Arlington, Texas. And these kids are doing an amazing job. But for the app challenge, I mean, my goodness, what an amazing story that is a real world impact for our country to connect patients with doctors, and I think you're going to see this app is going to actually make a difference. So, but let me wish everybody Merry Christmas. It's an honor of a lifetime to serve in Washington, D.C. I hope everybody gets a chance to spend some time with your family, and I'm going to be giving thanks for our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ being born, and just really appreciate the honor to go to Washington, D.C. and represent the best district in the entire country. And it's because of the hardworking men and women that want to raise their families and pass on a country that our kids can be proud of, that allows them to live the American dream. But we know that that's based on Christian principles, and I'm so honored to represent this district. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Congressman Pfluger. Thank you.
Thank you.